Okay, so how many times will a loan be compounded monthly in a year? So since compounded monthly, so since it's monthly in a year, there are 12 months. So our answer is gonna be D12. So the difference between simple and compound interest. So the difference between both is that the interest earned in simple interest is constant. It's never changing. It's always going. If your interest is $3 per year, then it's going to continue to be $3. However, when it's compound interest, then there's going to be some change. There's going to be something changing. There's going to be a constant change and in the interest that you earn. So that is uh that's the difference between simple interest and compound interest. Okay, so you got a student loan with the help of Ateneo de Davao University to pay for your educational expenses for the school year. Find the interest on the loan if you borrowed 40,000 with 9% simple interest rate for 1 year. So 40,000 is our principal value. Now 9% is our interest value and 1 year is our, well, time value. So what does 40,000 represent here? It represents our principal. So what is asked in the problem? So what's asked in the problem is So as in the problem is find the interest on the loan. So you need to find the interest. Okay, so what was the answer? What was the answer? So if we do the answering real quick, right? We do the answering real quick. Okay, what's the answer to the problem? So so this is just simple interest. So the formula for simple interest is equivalent to the principal times rate of interest and time. So now we just have to substitute the variables. So that's going to be 40,000 times 0.09 times 1. And if we plug that into a calculator very, very quickly, it's going to be 40,000 times 0.09. So that's 3,600. So our answer is going to be 3,600. So Samantha borrowed money with 7% interest from Sebastian. After 5 years, she returned the money back, amounting to PHP 200 and 200 and 2,500. 202,500. That's how you write it. Okay. So this is still simple interest, but since we have the future value, right? So we're going to have to use the maturity value simple interest formula. So it's going to be the future value is going to be equal to the principal value, which is going to be that uh, times 1 plus RT. That is the formula. So so now we just substitute. So 202,500 is equal to P times 1 because we're trying to solve for P here. So it's P times 1, which is never changing, R. So R is going to be our interest rate. So it's going to be 0.07 since with our percentages we have to just move the decimal point by 2 places and then we get our decimal value for the percentages, and then right after that it's going to be 0.07 times the time, which is 5. So we're going to have to multiply both of these, and what do we get? So if I just copy and paste this down, so that we don't waste any time whatsoever. So what do we get? So So it's basically just as simple as what is 7 times 5. So it's 35, right? So that is our decimal. That's what we're going to be using. And now we just have to add that. We just have to add that to 1. So what is 0.35 plus 1? Simple enough, right? 1.35. Okay, so now that we have that value settled, we're going to have to multiply this to p, so that we can make sure that p gets or we just have to make sure that p gets isolated. So that's why we are multiplying 1.35 to p, so that it becomes 1.35p, and now it becomes 1.35. So you divide that on both sides. So what's going to be the answer? So now the answer is 202,500 divided by 1.35. So that's going to be 1,000. No, 150,000 is equivalent to p. So that's going to be our principal. That's going to be our original price, and wouldn't you know it, 1,500. Oh fuck. So that would be 150,000. Okay. So what's the interest rate of Banco de Oro if you deposit 25,000 there and had a total amount of BHP 26,250 after 2 years? Okay. So if you so let's keep track of the variables here. So our principal value is 25,000, right? And then our future value is going to be equivalent to 26,250. So we're trying to find the interest rate here. So the rate is basically blank. We don't know what the rate is. But we know the time that has elapsed, because there's still simple interest. So the time that has elapsed is 2 years. So that's 2. And now what else is there that we have to calculate for? Okay. So we need to find the interest rate. So we're going to be using this formula. The maturity value simple interest. Okay, so it's going to be this formula again. So the future is going to be equal to p times 1 plus rt. Those two are multiplied together. So we're going to be 20. So future is going to be 26,250 equals 25,000 times 1 plus blank. So it's just going to be r, our variable r, because we want to isolate that so that we can get whatever that variable is. Because we want to get r, we want to get our interest, so we let r be. We just have it be r. So now we're going to multiply that to that. So now it's 26,250 is 25, is still the same, but now it's 2r. Okay. So we're almost there. We're getting very close. So 26,250 equals 25,000 equals 25,000. But now, just to save time, we're going to just to save time and just to illustrate to you this, we're going to have to do a FOIL method here. So we're going to have to put that all into one number. So it's going to be 25,000, right, plus 2R, so it's going to be 50,000 R. So now what we're gonna have to do here is we're going to have to do the subtraction property of equality on both sides, so that we can really, because our main goal here is really just to isolate the R value. So because we subtract 25,000 on both sides, it's going to be 1,250 on the futures, on the future side, and now on our side, on the interest rate side, we have 50,000 R. So now we're going to isolate R now. By dividing both sides by 50,000. So what is 1,250 divided by 50,000? That's going to be 0. So 0.025. So if we convert that into actual decimal into actual percentage, that's going to be 2.5. Because since we're converting this decimal to percentage, we're moving the decimal point 2 places, so 1, 2, and that's going to be where our decimal place is for percentages. So this is our value, this is our interest rate. Okay, so that's 2.5. Okay, Maria wants to buy a car, show off to her friend. She loaned an amount of PHP 2 million pesos to a loan shark that gave her a 3% interest compounded quarterly. How much will she need to spend, will she need to pay after 5 years? Okay, so what type of problem is this? Okay, compound quarterly. So a 3% interest compounded quarterly. So this is a compound interest. These should be the hints. So what does the 2 million pesos represent in the problem? So that should be the principal, because this is the original amount that is loaned. Because it's not always something that you invest and get interest out of. It can also be a loan, which is also stated here, because it is also principal or the amount of a loan. So but that's for simple interest. For just the principal just means the original value. Okay, so now if we go back here, all right, so compounded quarterly, so we're not going to be using this formula anymore. We're going to be using the compound interest formula, which is the futures are going to be equivalent to the principal, and that's going to be times 1 plus R over M times M to the square root of M square root of M times T, which is our time. So futures, principal, rate of interest, the amount of times that interest will be compounded yearly, and this is our time. So now, what is our what is our so what are the variables that have been given to us here? Okay, so 2 million, that is our 2 million is our principal. That's our principal. Okay, but you have to also watch out, because they're going to be saying, okay, so I have this amount, so they're going to give half of it to the bank. Okay, so in that case, you're going to have to split this entire thing in half, but that's not what's happening in this problem. So we're just going to focus on what this problem is focusing on. So 2 million, that is our principal. Okay, loan shark that gave her a 3% interest. So 3% interest rate. So our rate is 3%, and then we convert that, because we put the 2 decimal places, out, so it's going to be 0.03 in decimal form. So now the time, how much will she need to pay back after 5 years? So that's our time, 5 years. And now a loan shark that gave her a 3% interest compounded quarterly. So quarterly in a year is 4. So our M value is going to be 4. So now we're trying to find the value of future. So now it's going to be, so it's going to be our principal, right? That's our principal value, and times that by 1 plus 0.03, which is our 3%, which is our interest rate, and then M divided by M, which is our the amount of times a year the interest is compounded, and then again over here 4, and then time is 5. So 5 years. So yeah. So now we have all of our variables in place. So all we have to do now is just solve for it. So now we have this, right? So now I have this. And 1 plus 0.03 over 4. Okay. So we're going to have to split that into 4. So what is 0.03 divided by 4? That's going to be 0.0075, okay? 0.0075. Okay? And then that's going to be 4 to the power of 4 times 5, which is going to be 20. Because so now all we have to do now is we're just going to have to add those numbers together. So or actually not add, but we're adding these numbers together. So, and if we add those numbers together, what do we get? So it's going to be 1.0075 to the power of 20. So what is 1.005 to the power of 20? Okay, 1.0075 to the power of 20. So you're going to get this long ass number. And it's alright if you don't write it fully, because during exams you're kind of strained a little bit. So I recommend writing the first 5 variables. I mean the first 5 decimal places, because those are gonna be the ones that are to me are one of the most important. So 1.16118. Okay, so we're going to multiply that. We're multiplying this times 2 million. What do we get? So we get this number. So F is going to be equal to 2,322,000 368 0.28. So that is our that's our value. So that is our future. So that is our future value. So we always have to keep checking, right? 2,322,368.28, but it's rounded off to not 229. So okay. So it's this. Because we're calculating for the futures, right? So okay, so now find the compound amount and interest if 46,000 pesos is invested at 8% compounded quarterly for 5 years and 6 months. Okay, so let's analyze this again. That's the problem again. Okay, So it's still going to be, so since it's compounded quarterly, we're going to be using the same formula. So we're still gonna be using that formula, but ultimately, for most of these formulas, the variable it's mainly just focusing on how the variables change and how it is displayed within the question, or how it's phrased within the question, which is why you should also be careful, because bad things can happen if you don't pay attention to the rest of the word problem. So our initial value, so our initial principal, our principal value is 46,000, right? That is our initial value, and our futures is, and we're solving for our futures. So at 8%, so 8%, so our rate is going to be 0.08. That's coming from 8% again. If I need to clarify again, there's two decimal places. Move it 2 decimal places, and then you get the decimal form of the percentage to the left. Now, so you have, okay, so we have 8%. That's already done. Now, compounded quarterly. So quarterly. So our M value quarterly 4. So our M value is 4. So now the time is 5 years and 6 months. So think about it. Since it's 5 years and 6 months, so since 6 months is half a year, then it should be, then the time should be 5.5, because it is half a year. Because 6 months is half a year, so that means it's 0.5 of a year, and then we have the rest of the 5 years. Okay. So now F equals 46,000, right? 46,000, and we're going to times that by 1 plus 0.08 over 4, because that is our compound. That's what our because that is the compounded, or the amount of times. Again, I'm just explaining myself over again, but really, yeah, it's the amount of times the interest is compounded in a year, because that's what we're focusing on now, just within a year. So 4, okay, so that to the power of 4, so this to the power of 4 times 5.5. Okay, so it's just all just us. So all of it is really just substituting variables. That at its root, at its heart, it's really just that, substituting variables. Now all of this doesn't really need that much solving. You just 4 times. So 4 times 5.5. Okay. 0.08 over 4. Okay. So 0.08 divided by 4 is equal to 0.02. So 1.02 that's gonna be our, so it's gonna be there. Okay, so we're just solving within the parentheses, and now okay, so now what is 4 times 55? 4 times 5.5. So 22. Okay, 22. Okay. So that's 22. All right. So 1.02 to square root of 22. Give you this long fucking number again. So you're gonna have to do something with it. So we're gonna have to do something with it. because it's going to be equivalent now to 1.54597. Yeah, whatever. 1.54197, I believe. 54597. Sorry, 597. Okay. Okay. I think I'm taking my time a little bit too long. So now we just have to multiply. So you just have to multiply this to our principal value. So that is this number times 46,000. What is it? Okay. So that is our futures. That is our This is the value of our futures. 771,115.0648. 0648. All right, so the interest value, right? So I want to find the interest value. So to find the interest value, you just have to do. So to find the interest value of a compound interest, it's going to be the interest of a compound interest is equivalent to the futures minus the principal value. So that is going to be what is it is equivalent to. So what is that? So 46,000, right? That's going to go into our principal value, and then we're going to subtract it to this variable, to this, right? So our future value is going to be subtracted to the original value, to the principal value. So what do we get? So just this value minus 46,000. So final value is 25,115.0648. So it's around estimated around that, so that we don't waste too much time. So that's our interest. This is our future. So now let's check out this, right? Okay, so the compound amount is 70. So we have to check out the variables. Is there anything wrong? Okay, so that's wrong. Okay. So it's D. Okay. So your salary per month is 20,000. You plan to save half of it. Here it is. Here's that godforsaken question. If you don't read the entire thing, you're gonna be screwed. So read your fucking word problems, all right? Okay. So your salary per month is 20,000. Okay. So let's just set up our variables early. Okay, so that we don't have to go back and reset and stuff, So okay. P so principal value, so our rate of interest, time, amount of times compounded in per year, and then there's also the futures as well. So yeah, these are really the 5 main variables that you have to keep in touch. So let's start with China Bank. Let's start with Bank 1. All right, let's start with bank one. So bank one, so okay, let's read. Salary per month is 20,000, and you plan to save half of it in a certain bank for 3 years. You consider two banks, which will give you a bigger amount of money, and why? Okay, so it's going. So okay, so value is going to be 10,000 because we want to save half of it. So 20,000, divided by two, so 10,000. Okay. Now, rate of interest. So for the first bank, it's going to be 1.2%, which is going to equate to, since we moved decimal place by two places left, it's going to be 0.012. That is going to be our rate. Time is going to be 3 years. And since this is still simple interest, then it's just going to be, then we're just going to be focusing on these three variables. So this is for bank one. This is for bank one. So you still remember the interest formula, the simple interest formula. So that's interest equals principal times rate of interest times time. So now you just substitute the variables. 10,000, all right, times 0.012, and then times that by 3. So now I'm going to multiply both of these, right? So it's going to be interest is going to be equivalent to 10,000. My dogs hate math. Can't believe this. 0.0, so 12 times 3, so that's 36, so 36. So 0.036. Okay. Now, what is that equivalent to? 10,000 times 0.036. That's going to be equal to 360. So our interest is 360. Okay, so that's for the first bank, right? So now let's move on to the second bank. So for our second bank, we're going to have the variables. Okay. Okay. So we're going to have the variables 0.9, okay? Okay. 0.9%. Okay? Watch your values, cuz you might make the mistake of, just doing of moving it just one place. You just like any okay, so any percentage value, you always need to move it 2 places to get its decimal form. Okay? So our principal value still stays the same. It's still 10,000. Our time is still the same. It's still 3. But now it's compounded every year, so that means that our m is going to be 1. So our future is not so we're still solving for our future, so that's why it's not given. Okay. I should probably erase this so that okay. So back to this formula. So our futures are going to be equal to the principal value times 1 plus r over m times mt, to the power of mt. So just, yeah. Okay. So now again, substituting the variables. 10,000 times 1 plus r, which is 0.0, so 0.9. Okay, let's convert that. So 2 decimal places, so boom boom. So that would be 0.009. Okay? So 0.009. Okay? And you divide that by 1. And then it's going to be 1 times the time, which is 3. So, okay, so we're going to be doing that. So we're going to be solving through, just simply solving through these. So my dogs hate, they just hate math completely. So 10,000. So our future is going to be equal to 10,000 times 1 plus 0.009, which if we just add that up together, we can just skip this part because it's over 1, so it's just, so we just add that. We just add 0.009 to 1, so that becomes 1.009 to the power of 3. So now let's multiply that. Let's square root. Let's square root it, right? 1.009. We're just multiplying this by its square root, which we gave. So 1.009 to the power of 3. So the value that was given to us is f equals 10,000 times 1.027 243.729, I think. Yep. So now we just have to multiply that value to 10,000 again. And once you know it, f equals 10,000 to 2.43729. And since we want the interest, right? Because we want the interest so we can compare them. So again, how do you get it from a compound interest formula? Or how do you get the interest of the compound interest? So I see. So the interest of the compound is equal to the future minus the principal. So we just do this again. So we have the future. So we have that. And then minus the principal, the original price, or I mean the original amount, the original value. So what do we get? 272.4. And we're just gonna do that, or do this. So let's compare them both. So Bank A is 360. Bank B, 360 in 3 years. Bank B is 272.44 in 3 years. So who's the better bank? It's Bank A. So Bank A, China Bank is better. So letter A is the choice because, as you can see, everything matches up. China Bank, because it gives me an interest of PHP 360 pesos. Then the East West Bank that has an interest of 272.44 pesos. So this bank, the China Bank, will give you a bigger amount. Okay. Submit all to finish. Yes, 1 take. Okay, maybe it's a little too Tom Scott, but there we go. I've been recording for 40 minutes.